Welcome back, everybody, and we've got a really fun episode for you here today. We're going to be reviewing Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 1, and then after we give you our review, we're going to be coming back to give you our interview for our discussion of the week of Isaac Roberson, who is on as a cast member for Part 2. He's going to give us some insights to what happened and give us his thoughts on the season, so let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody, to ReelTime RoundTable, where we give you the best Hollywood-related news here on YouTube. I'm your co-host, Josh Williams.
I'm your co-host, Jordan Burke.
And it's just us two.
It's just two of us.
Just the two of us. Well, isn't that the Will Smith song? I can't.
Will Smith?
Is it? Who sings that song? It's like, just...
I don't think it's Will Smith.
I'll have to look it up.
But it might be. I actually don't know.
I'll have to look it up. Anyway, no, we thought we'd kind of have it just be us two this time, kind of to give our thoughts on the show as it stands right now, and then can't wait to bring on Isaac. I'm really excited to get his insights, what he got from the show. Yep. Because when I heard he actually got casted on that, I was super excited for him, but also just like it's a great show. Yeah. Because I've loved this show since it was a YouTube show, but I'm ready to get started. You?
I'm ready. But before we get started, it is Veterans Day.
Oh yes.
Happy Veterans Day, Josh.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. Thank you very much. I mean, it was 8 years. My body suffered, but I had an amazing time. I met some of my best friends. They watch sometimes I watch this. They don't watch it live, but they do watch it. I'll give a shout out to all my friends out there who are all over the place, who I met. I had a great time.
Good.
But I'm glad I served my country.
Awesome. So we watched Season 6 of Cobra Kai Part 1. Mm-hmm. I have thoughts. I know you have thoughts.
Quite a bit.
I want to give our thoughts on Part 1, and then we haven't talked about Cobra Kai on the show yet. So I want to give our thoughts about just the overall show and what we think of it, since we haven't been able to hit that yet. But starting with Part 1 of Season 6, what are your overall thoughts?
I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I had fun with it. The sad part of stuff like this is this Part 1 gave into that trope. It's a setup.
It is.
It's all setup. Mm-hmm. And that kind of drags it down a little bit for me. Because you're just this is just leading to this. You're not investing too much in what's going on because it's all leading up to something else.
Right.
And I don't know. That was kind of that was my overall take of it. I still enjoyed the heck out of it. Mm-hmm. I've loved these characters since like I said, it was a YouTube show before Netflix got a hold of it. And there's a lot of things I like, a lot of things I don't like, but we'll get into those in a bit. What were your overall thoughts after you've seen everything?
I mean, I think it is still very, very good.
Yeah.
It is. It does just set up for Part 2, which doesn't gain the same momentum as it has with the past seasons. But overall, it is still very, very good. And I like what they're setting up, too. I like the idea that they're going with. But overall, I was satisfied with it.
I was satisfied. But I think what made it satisfying for me was just the characters.
Yeah.
All from the main cast, from William Zabka, Ralph Macchio, to Miguel, Robbie, all of them, Samantha, Tori, all their dynamics I enjoyed up until a point. We're going to be actually giving our spoiler review because it's been out for a while now. It's been out since July. So, I mean, if you haven't seen it by now, that means you're not planning on seeing it. So we're going to get into spoilers with this one. I just didn't like the ending where Tori, sadly, her mother dies because her mother's been fighting cancer for so long throughout this whole time she's been on the show. And just because of that, she fights Samantha, and then she goes off and rejoins Cobra Kai.
She switches.
It just switches on a dime, and I didn't buy into that. I just feel like they needed to have her be on the opposite side to give dynamic for Part 2, which I felt like this show has been so good at developing the characters to grow. Yeah. And it feels like with her character and a couple others, they just resort back to their, because Robbie and Miguel, for example, Robbie put Miguel in a wheelchair.
He did.
And now they're really cool with one another. That's growth. And I feel like they didn't give that opportunity for Samantha and Tori to go into this tournament together and fight alongside one another. You know what I mean? Things like that I was really looking forward to. Then they changed it on a dime in the last episode. And that frustrated me completely. Yeah. But at the same time, she's a great actress. She's so good.
She's really good.
I mean, I would even venture She's a little bit better than Mary Mouser, even though I like her character more.
Mm-hmm.
But as an actress, I mean, that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
They're both terrific at what they do. But I think that's what got me is that the characters kept me invested as they always do.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like the story wasn't as strong as the previous ones. And that's evident from Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, it's still at 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is still good.
Which is still very, very good.
But compared to the rest of the seasons where like season 1 was like 100%.
It was 100%.
90s, 95s, 80s, 98s. So I guess people would probably agree that it's not the best, but like it's still there. You know what I mean? I mean, what was some of your best parts?
I'm really glad you brought up about Tori switching because I was very excited to see where this was going to go, especially knowing her history with the other.
And especially after they had that slumber party, it seemed like they buried the hatchet.
That was my favorite scene.
And
it was so
scene.
like comforting. You're like, okay, they're understanding each other. They're finding that common ground, and I do kind of feel like they just had her switch to just build up some sort of drama. And I do, character-wise, I do understand why she switched with her relationship with Kreese. I get that, but it was like, okay, great. I'm hoping they're doing this so then she can have almost like a complete 180 again and like a full like I'm in, like I'm back with. I don't remember if they changed their name officially, but Miyagi-Do is what I'm gonna call them. Yeah, I can't fully remember.
They got rid of Williams. Sorry, Johnny's Eagle Fang.
Yeah.
But
and I know they've been like playing with them. I can't remember if they were like, "This is our name," but
I remember when they were gonna call it Miyagi Fang, and that like what they drew for that. I looked, I'm like, that is ugly. I mean, the kids made it, so it made sense. Like a bunch of high schoolers trying to make a new logo, but like I was like, whoo.
Yeah.
But it was funny.
But I really, really like, which throughout the entire show I've liked Daniel and Johnny's relationship, because I mean they started off hating each other.
Oh yeah.
And then you're like, okay, now they don't really hate each other, and they kind of go back and forth. But I feel like with this season specifically, they're like brothers who like they hate each other. No, they don't. They
fight just like
they
brothers.
love each other. They actually do love each other. But
and
I love
like
that little
dynamic too. And I like that Johnny's has so much growth in season 1, and now that he has a kid on the way, which I thought was really cool too.
That is amazing.
I think that's the other reason why I think Miguel and Robbie have found some kind of connectivity, because they're gonna have a sister soon.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? They're a family now essentially.
And I think they just kind of understand that they don't really have anything to argue with.
No.
Like they get each other.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, I got you. You know, their parents are together. They don't have anything to be frustrated with.
Yeah. But I just like that also now Johnny's trying to find a job, you know, doing this and that because he's rent the house. Like I like the growth that he's becoming more of an adult. For you saw him in the beginning where his house barely had food and he just had beer in his. You know
it's a complete change.
It's a great change. Whereas Ralph Macchio's character, where Daniel, he's got growth because he's you know, learning more and more about Mr. Miyagi, but also he's learning more about himself. Through that, and with Chosen and everything like that, I do see the growth there. But this show is essentially what's called Cobra Kai. It was more for Johnny's character than anything, and I think I do enjoy that more, because Karate Kid was all about Daniel. But I like that part. And I will say, how do you feel about the Mr. Miyagi stuff that's coming out about him? Like with like when they found that compartment and they found out like he was on the run, like he fled the country apparently, and like they found out he was in that tournament that they're going to, things like that. Like I don't know how you feel about it. I trust the show because I know Ralph Macchio probably wouldn't let this happen to his legacy of that character, but I hope it's a good payoff, because I always was fearful that they're trying to humanize Mr. Miyagi, not to, you know, that everyone makes mistakes kind of thing.
Right. But I feel like we've seen that with him.
We've
already seen. We know that he's a human being. We know that he's not perfect. He makes mistakes. But
I just want them to tarnish that character. You know what I mean? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
So that was one of my other things that kind of, I won't say bothered me, but I just hope they have a good payoff for part 2. That's one of the biggest things.
I think, and I mean, I don't like that she switched, but it was kind of a cool twist where you're like, oh, crap's going down. Yeah. Yeah. I like that setup. I like how they presented it, though. I don't like the twist, but I like how they presented it. How do you
feel about the whole like dynamic with the other characters, like Eli and I'm always blanking on his character, Dimitri? Like they're supposed to be like these best friends in season 1, and now they have this kind of falling out. So essentially, like, what did you think of some of the other character like subplots? Did you like them? Do you think they were strong? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't feel like they're as strong as they've been, especially with like Eli and Dimitri. I feel like their story was very, very compelling in the past seasons, and now it's
Now that they've
for
made up
me,
yeah.
it's like okay,
Yeah.
it's all right. I mean, it's not bad, but
Yeah.
it's not my favorite.
I feel like ever since Eli kind of came back to the quote unquote good side, his character doesn't have as much dynamic. He's grown a little bit, but
he did make a good villain.
He did.
Like,
he was a great villain.
I'm glad he's on the good side, but he was a cool villain.
I did, however, like the relationship between Kenny and Robbie. How Robbie trying to bring Kenny back, and like he was hesitant and everything. Like, I love that subplot because he brought Kenny along to Cobra Kai when he was at his lowest, and now he's realizing, the error of his ways.
Especially that it was Robbie, knowing where he started, that he was kind of just a lost person, and that he's come around to now being that leader. I think the fact that it was from Robbie is actually very, very cool.
Speaking of leaders, were you surprised that Robbie won against Miguel? No? Really?
Nope, I was not.
Story-wise, I guess it makes sense because Miguel did beat him. Or no?
Yeah.
He beat him last season in the tournament.
I think so.
Yeah. So I guess it makes sense story-wise, but I mean, Miguel, he was really wanting to be that captain so he can go to Stanford and all this stuff, so it was going to look good on his resume. I hope that will pay off for him since he doesn't have it, but he'll maybe find a way for that. That's my main, what I want to talk about next is like leading up to part 2 now. Well, of course, it's going to be all about the tournament. How do you feel? Do you think there's so much going on? Do you think there's enough time for them to wrap all these up in that last season? Because they've greenlit a movie, but it's none of these characters. Well, that part bothers me, by the way.
Yeah.
They're gonna bring back Ralph Macchio and all this other stuff, but all these characters are going after this part 2. Like, do you think they have enough time? They've done too much setup.
It worries me a little bit. I'm not a fan when shows take all these characters and then within like the last 10 minutes they're like, oh, let's just wrap everything up. Like, I want to see that growth. I want to see that development between each storyline, and that is a little concerning that they only have a little bit of time to wrap it all up.
Because they're gonna have to focus on the tournament, and unless that's where all that growth comes from, I don't know. I'm concerned about it too. I hope it does well because this show has been so good leading up to this. I mean, overall for me, I did enjoy the heck out of this show. I love the characters. I like the dynamic between, especially I like more. It's funny. The show is supposed to focus on William Zabka and Ralph Macchio, Billy and Johnny. I've enjoyed more the teenage characters than anything.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe that's what they've been going for this whole time because they have been the main characters, but that's what's kept me in this show this whole time is their development and how they've evolved since the first season. So that's why I've been invested this whole time. I still enjoy this. It is a setup. It's I was more disappointed because yes, I get it's supposed to be a setup, but you can still give more to the audience than just leading up to the tournament. I'm still gonna give it a 7.5. It's really low for me. Again, like, I didn't like the switch on the dime with Tori's character and the setup for everything like that. But all the characters, all the fight scenes, of course, the choreography is spectacular.
It is beautiful.
All the time.
Absolutely beautiful.
So that's why it's keeping me up there for it. I just, after seeing the part 2 trailer, I'm pumped. Like, it's weird. Like, I was like, okay, this is fine. But now looking at the part 2 trailer, I'm like, I'm so in. I'm beyond excited. What about you?
I'm going to give it a little higher. I'm going to say an 8. Not extremely higher, but an 8. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to get me really pumped up about, especially like a show centered around fighting. I'm like, yeah, let's go. So I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's still very good.
I guess I never knew you actually liked fight movies.
I love it. I get hyped. I sit there and I'm like, let's go.
I'm going to have you watch Raid Redemption then.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, that's the best. That's the best. But all right, everybody, that is our reviews here for part 1 of Cobra Kai season 6. Leave your comments in the section below. Let us know your positives, your negatives, and your score out of 10. You can get into spoiler territory since we have here as well. For right now, we are going to take a little break. We're going to show you guys the trailer for part 2 of season 6 of Cobra Kai. And then when we come back, Isaac Roberson will be right here next to me. And we're going to give he's going to give us some insight to his experiences on Cobra Kai season 6. Let's hit that trailer.
Competitors and senseis, to the world's greatest karate tournament, the Sekai Taitai.
Come on, y'all, let's go.
Welcome to Barcelona, bitch.
There's no way that we can win. At this point, I'd rather not lose any more brain cells.
We knew this wasn't gonna be easy. Cobra Kai is one dojo out of 16. It's not us against them anymore.
Tori chose the other side. But we can't keep letting her get in our heads like this.
You have the opportunity of a lifetime to be captain, and you're completely blowing it.
Let's see what you got.
Some of us have nothing to lose. But not you. You've got a lot to lose.
I know Americans. You have no idea what it takes to win. Here in Barcelona.
It's Barcelona, dipshit.
We've heard all this garbage going around about loyalty. But almost all of us are trained somewhere else at some point. What matters is where our asses are now. We're in Miyagi-Do. We're not losing. So wipe the smirks off their ugly faces.
Welcome back, guys, and for our discussion of the week, we are here with Isaac Roberson, who was on the cast for Cobra Kai Season 6. Isaac, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Hey, happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
So, if we understand right, your character didn't necessarily have, like, a full-on name, right? But what was, like, so, I guess, real quick, when we start us off here, talk us through, like, what was your character and, like, what was... Yeah, like in your group and everything like that.
Yeah, so in the email it just said former champion from Kenya. And,
Kenya. That's okay.
Yeah, Kenya, yeah. And then that's all they really said. It wasn't really like any backstory or anything. It was just like, hey, you'll be in the tournament. You're a former champion. You're on Team Kenya. You'll be in a little fight montage. And then it was just like that.
Still, though, I mean, that's the fact that you're a former champion is really cool, too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It would have been cool to have a name like, you know.
It's something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, like, to, like, you know, really... you know, introduce me, give me a little bit spotlight, but it was cool though. Yeah,
yeah. So talk us through to get us started off here. How did everything come about? Like, how did you find out about this?
Yeah.
Like the casting opportunity, and like talk us through all those steps, like leading up to you getting there.
Yeah. So it's actually a pretty long story. So first, I was actually on the show in February of 2020, before the strike, the Writers Guild and all that stuff. And I was just a high school student. And I was on YouTube, and then I was like, I seen this Cobra Kai YouTube channel. He was like, hey, Cobra Kai is doing casting calls for different roles. You should apply. So I was just like, why not? So I just applied right there, and then like a couple days later, they got back to me, and then they're like, oh, like submit a photo, and I was like, I did that, and then a couple days later, they're like, you're casted. So after that, I got like this thing called project casting. You know what that is? Well, it's basically a thing where you know where who's casting. It's like different things like commercials, TV shows, or movies. And it's just like different notifications from them. And Cobra Kai was on there. They're looking for a lot of things: construction workers, restaurant workers, and then it was like
acting roles.
Yeah, acting roles. Okay. Yeah, and then it was like tournament fighters. I was like, that seems pretty cool because I don't want to be a high school student again. You know, it was cool to be in the school and you know just walk, but I kind of want to be a little bit different. You know, so I applied for that one. And then they were like, submit these photos. I submitted a photo of, I used to do karate a little bit too. So I had this photo where I was in the karate gi. And then I think they said they wanted like some headshots. I sent 2 headshots. They said, okay, we'll take this to the that director. He'll review them. And if he likes what he sees, because it's like a picture, like you get it by how you look.
Yeah.
And then they I guess they like the build or something like that. And they were like, okay, you have like 5 days to accept it. And I was like, I'm all in, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was cool. And then when I got the email, it was so cool. It was like, I was at the diner hall, and I think I was like a little sick or something. I wasn't feeling the best, and I was like eating, and then I got this email. It was like, you've been casted as a former champion from Kenya. You need to be in Atlanta in like 2 weeks. I'm like, And I was sick, and then I was like, oh, I'm good now. Like, I'm good, you know. But yeah, it's a long process. But basically, project casting, it's different things that you look at. I still get it now, like Stranger Things and Tyler Perry things, and
Awesome.
It's a lot of things, even commercials or even photo shoots or modeling. It's just a lot of things that you could apply for. And
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Did you get to work with the main cast at all?
Yeah, I did. I got to meet them. I got to work with them a little bit. They're all super nice. I've seen like interviews where people they're like the nicest people ever, and I got to experience it. They're really nice, really warming and welcoming for sure.
That's amazing.
Who was like one of your favorites to work with?
So we didn't get to work too much with the main cast, but out of the people, I would say Billy Zabka.
Okay.
He was like, because he's also like the most interactive with everybody, right? He like even like my first day on set, there was this buffet scene, and then I was in the background, and then off in between takes, it was like what's up, man? Like, are you a real fighter? I'm like, no. Well, I did wrestling, and then I did a little bit of martial arts, and then he was just talking to me, and like, this guy's cool, you know. But yeah, I'll say Billy Zabka.
Okay, that's awesome.
I've heard he's super friendly.
He's actually really nice. He talks to like everybody, like just like they're like normal person, you know. And,
so some of the behind the scenes pictures you showed us with your group, with Kenya group.
Yeah.
Who was the guy you sent quite a few with one of the guys?
Yeah, one guy. Yeah, that's
was he someone you worked with closely? Or?
Yeah, we clicked the most out of the two. We just had like a lot of in common. They were just like we both watch WWE.
Okay.
So we'll do a lot of horseplay off between takes. You know the Rock thing. It doesn't matter. We'll always like. In between takes, we'll like ask questions like, "How much do you think until we get done?" And I'm like, "It doesn't matter how long we get." And then he just really cool. We just clicked instantly, and then like when we left, people were like, "Did y'all know each other before this?" No, we just met down here because everyone's like, "Y'all look just so cool," you know. But yeah, that was my guy Keyshawn. We just clicked instantly, and he was just a fighter on the team. But everyone was cool on that team, but me and him clicked the most for sure.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And as far as like, I know Billy was. Probably your favorite, but how was like the rest of the cast? Like, was it a good positive environment? Like,
yeah,
because you hear some shows where, I know you're not gonna have you spill any tea or anything like that by other actors, but you get like some environments are very positive, some
for
aren't.
Sure, yeah.
But how was it for you personally?
It was positive overall, especially with the teams. They're all uppity, a little bit like Hawk. His character, he's like really energetic, and like I remember one person on my team was actually getting annoyed. Because he was like so energetic in between takes, he'll just be like, he just uppity, you know.
Yeah.
But they're positive. They have a good work ethic. They talk to you, and then they're just real positive to be around. Honestly. Yeah. So like when I first got in there too, because like in this show, Ralph Macchio, Dan LaRusso, he's my favorite character. So when I first seen him, like for the first time, I remember we're after lunch, I was walking out, and then. They showed the clip in the trailer too. He was like, we knew it was gonna be easy. That was my first time seeing Ralph Macchio on set, and I was like, wow, like that's Ralph Macchio. And then I don't want to, no shade to Ralph, but that day he was really he was messing up his line, so he was a little bit like
frustrated.
A little frustrated.
Right.
And then
and rightfully so.
Yeah. I think maybe because sometimes people they change the script on the day of, and then but him and Billy were kind of messing up too. But Ralph was like a little frustrated. I'm like, dang, like my favorite character. He's like. He's not the best spirits right now, but it was cool. It was cool to see him. But the first time seeing him, he was my
like
favorite
starstruck.
Yeah, I was like because I was sitting down. I tell my friends the story too. I was sitting down, and he was like practicing his lines in his head. He was walking towards me, but not knowingly, just walking and doing it. I'm like, I was just, I'm like, oh wow, this is Ralph Macchio.
I was like, oh my god, it's Ralph Macchio.
But I got used to it too though, because I was there like for like 2 weeks, and I got used to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most valuable thing you learned throughout the process or even just on set that you think is going to help you throughout your career?
So that's a good question. Before I even got down there when I got down there before the filming days, I told myself this, like, even as an extra, because I used to do like behind the scenes, like directing and producing and stuff like that. I told myself this is going to be after this trip, I will know if I really want to do this, even as an extra, because you hear like the long days of 12-hour shoots, and because in film there's a lot of waiting. That's one thing that's the same for even a student film or like a Hollywood film. It's just a lot of takes, and you sit, you stand, and
a lot of hurry up and wait.
Yeah, it's a lot of hurry up and wait, and it's like typical day for me. Like I would get up at like 6 a.m. 5 a.m. because call time would be like 6, and then I was staying with my cousin too, and they film in Atlanta, but we're in Georgia like 45 minutes away, so I had to get up a little bit earlier. So that was like a little drive too, and then we had breakfast, and then we wait for like 2 to 3 hours before they need us. Then we go to set, film for like maybe 3-4 hours again, lunch, and then go back 4 hours, and then just like constantly stand and wait, little breaks, and then. But I told myself, am I gonna if I enjoy these 12 hours, just even being as an extra, like this is what I want to do. Because sometimes you could just be there and like, man, maybe this is not what I want to do. Just sit around for all day, like seeing everybody work and stuff like that. Even as an extra though, because I looked at the producers, the directors, and then they do their thing. Like even as an extra, I was like shadowing them, and then it was really inspiring to see them, see them go through their thing,
their process.
Yeah,
that's what. So they're actually okay with you like kind of following them around, maybe asking questions. Or
they didn't like that. So
they did or didn't? Sorry,
they didn't.
Oh,
so
they didn't. No. Okay.
If you were to talk to them, they would have to approach you.
Okay.
In the email, they were like, "We understand this is an entertaining thing, but please do not approach our main talent. We know that this is exciting, but this is."
Oh, I meant like the behind the scenes, like the directors.
Yeah, yeah, you can ask some questions, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was curious
about.
Yeah,
the crew is really cool, yeah.
The crew,
I got cool with a lot of the crew, yeah. The crew is really cool. Makeup artists were really cool, and just a lot of different PAs. And there's a lot of crew members that I did not know. Like on the film set, we have our director, have our producer, script supervisor, all that stuff. But there's so many crew members that I did not know about, like, and there are so many things. There's so many people doing different things. Like, it was like I don't know how many crew members, but there were a lot, and they were just doing different things. And I know what's up.
No, so that kind of leads to my next question a little bit. Is what would you say is like the biggest thing you've experienced a difference between like some of the student films that we've worked on here and that set? Like, what would you say was like the biggest? Was that one of the biggest differences?
That's one of them too. Yeah, the big crew members. And the other thing is obviously the equipment. The first day I was on there, they have the train tracks with dollies or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, like I seen that and I was like, wow, that looks expensive. It looks cool. And I think just like attention to detail too, because there was a scene where outside of the school, they just had like a lot of cars parked, and they all had California license plates. We filmed that in Atlanta, but the setting in Cobra Kai is in LA, California. So it makes you look, and also too, like the props too, they had like fake palm trees, and it looked real though. I tell my friends all the time, the palm trees, they had after a take they had like lifted it up. I'm like, you can't lift up a tree, and it was obviously a prop, but they make it look like LA. It's just really realistic on the professional film set. They make everything look like it's supposed to be in the story.
Okay.
And just the crew members, a ton of them, like ton of PAs, and just a ton of people, a lot of grips, carrying things, stuff like that. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Was there anything about the process that you learned or that surprised you that you weren't really expecting?
Not really. 'Cause like I said, I've heard of you'll be on set for long days. It's kind of really what I expected it to be. It was just cool to see how a professional company did it. Instead of like a short film. We do our own things and stuff like that. But it was really cool to see an actual professional setting and just seeing like actual directors who make a lot of good money and just seeing all those people work together. So yeah, nothing really surprised me. It was just really cool to see how they do it instead of us.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, in that same vein, like, what was probably the most difficult or challenging part for you? Like, as far as the whole process, what was one of the more difficult parts?
So a guy like me, I like being the center of attention, like in movies, like
so self-centered. Isaac.
Listen. Like, I'm a guy who like, if I play like a short film, I like to be the main character. I like to just feel special, So like it was going from because in my own, like I do my own movies here. I've acted in them, and then even like as a director, you kind of like have the reins of your production,
Oh yeah.
But as an extra, I listen to them, Not that that's it's easy to listen to. It's just like it's you don't really have control as much because it's their production, and you're an extra, so you gotta do what they say. That sounds really bad, but
no, I totally get it.
It's nothing like, and it was my favorite TV show, so I didn't mind it at all. Like,
I mean, I completely get it. I mean, like short films we do here, like when I'm just a cinematographer, I got like for your film that we're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, no, this is his vision. I need to give put his vision to life and not try to change any. I completely get it.
Yeah.
It's just that's one of those things like you learn to be a good leader, you need to be a good follower, and that's that's
for sure.
one of those things that you definitely
and that's something that been on the set that I've definitely enhanced. Just listening, following directions. You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you get to like take part in a variety of different kinds of scenes, or were you just kind of stuck with one?
It was a variety of scenes. The biggest one was the Sakai Takai. That was like we filmed that a lot, but I was like in there's an aquarium scene I'm in. There's a buffet scene.
An aquarium scene.
Yeah. It's weird.
You give us a little insight?
Yeah. So
I
basically,
mean, a little scoop.
Yeah, basically. So Cobra Kai's the Kwan. They're Korean now.
Yeah.
The fighter Kwan. Him and Robbie, the team captains, they kind of have like an argument. Yeah, a little beef, And then there's like, let's see who does this better, and then we're just all right there, and then you'll see. And Cobra Kai does like really corny stuff, like whoever does this.
Better.
Like I remember in season 5, like they had a bet to like whoever had a race in the water park, whoever won, they get the park. Like corny stuff like that. It's something like that with the aquarium.
Okay.
It's something corny, but yeah.
I love those kind of things. Even though it's corny, like I agree it's corny, but at the same time it's like it's very Cobra Kai.
It is Cobra Kai for sure.
Because that's how like the movies were, like all that stuff. That's really cool. Sorry. Let's see. I had another question and I just blanked on it. Oh, what was your favorite scene that you were in? Was it the tournament? Like, what was your favorite? Okay.
It was the tournament scenes for sure.
Talk us through like that time, because that's probably a big portion of the season.
So the ending of season 6, right? When Tori comes in, she
announces herself.
That was actually that was my first scene that I was in that scene. I don't know if you can tell, but when Cobra Kai walks out, there's a shot where all at the top, like the top and the banisters, we're standing. But that was the first thing we shot in the Sakai Takai, and I didn't know that was the ending until.
I gotta go back. I don't know if I saw you.
You can't see my face clearly, but you can tell, like, if you see that, like, if you see me standing.
Pause and just like.
Yeah. I was watching my boys and they paused. I was like, "Oh, that's you." I'm like, "Yeah, But yeah, the tournament scenes for sure was the most exciting because it was cool because I got to see the actors do it and the actual stunt people, and it was a lot of cameras going at once, and it was a lot of movement, and so say like there was like a lot of takes where, say this is the mat, and then the two fighters are fighting. They're doing their thing, and then the camera moves, and then the real like actual stunt people, they come out, and then the camera obviously doesn't see it, and then they fight. So it was like a lot of action, and there's like the Sakai Takai is so many different events. There's like 2-on-2s, 1v1s. There's like 3v3s. There's like all man for himself. Like like in season 1, there's been 2 tournaments in Cobra Kai. Season 1, season 4, the All Valley. This is like literally top
advanced.
Yeah, and it's gonna shock you. Like
I'm excited.
It's crazy because like when I was in there, it was like this is cool because I know what happens and I can see it. But I'm not going to be like
no
I know
spoilers, of course. Yeah.
No, like I'm not going to be surprised when I see it because I already know what's happening. But it's a pro and a con. But I mean, the Sakai Takai is like it was really fun to like see
all those moving parts.
Yeah, it was like so many. I don't know how long that took them though. But they all said it takes them like a couple of days, But
bless you, Natalie.
Bless.
Bless.
Yeah.
No, so how many cameras did when they shot action scenes? Like how many did they have going?
A lot.
Like 3 or 4.
Yeah, about 3 or 4.
That's awesome.
They even had like, it's hard to with the setup, but they had like a camera like, kind of not midair, but it was like holding on something like something like kind of like that, but hanging on something, and then they had some cameramen like moving, then people holding them, and because a lot of them was just moving parts of it.
It makes sense to do that so that we don't have to do so many takes, because like to get that kind of choreography down.
Especially like those 3v3 fights. It's like with a lot of people, you gotta get everybody. So it's one camera like stationary they'll be take a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have to learn like specific fights or anything?
Just basic kicks, basic hits, basic kicks. Yeah. Like, so I'm in like in this this little montage. It's nothing really like not no like double spinning. I'm not gonna do like Quan. Quan be doing like 360. I'm not doing none of that. But just basic hits, kicks, and stuff like that.
Did you have fun learning?
I had really fun. Yeah, it was really fun. It was. I mean, Cobra Kai is my favorite TV show. So like, just imagine being on your favorite TV show. You know, that was like really cool to be a part of, for sure. Even as an extra, you know.
So can you get going back to it a little bit? When you're on set waiting, like what did you end up doing like in those gaps in between that time? Like, are you practicing, like rehearsing your choreography, or just hanging out? Like, take us through the day. Like, you kind of gave us a brief, but like kind of go through the day for a little bit with us.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah. So on our off time a lot, you know, have you heard of crafting?
Like crafting, like
snacks and stuff.
Oh, like
they call it crafting, yeah.
Okay, okay,
yeah,
like catering.
Yeah,
okay.
They call it crafting down there. Every time they said, you know, we had some off time, I go to crafting and get some snacks. Me and my boy, they had a lot of snacks. For obviously first team, they would get like Chick-fil-A. I'm like, man, I want some Chick-fil-A, you know. But I mean, yeah. Like I said, you get up, eat breakfast. They'll call time. We won't film till like 3 hours after breakfast or 2 hours. We go there, set up, they rehearse, do a lot of takes.
When you were kind of sitting, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but I'm just curious, like when you were sitting around and waiting, was it hard or easy to kind of turn it on and off? Like when you had to go on set and start shooting,
it was easy.
Was it harder? It was easy for you to kind of turn it on and off?
Yeah, it was pretty easy. I mean, I think it being my favorite TV show was like also to like
just like hyped.
Yeah, like let's see what's gonna happen now, or just even been like a film guy too. You know, like we know how film goes. You know, so you've acted. Have you acted before? You know the elements of it, right? So like I know the elements of acting. So like it was like pretty easy. Like now if it was something that I didn't care about or I wasn't passionate about, it'd probably be a little bit harder. But I love the elements of filmmaking and the TV show itself. So it was pretty easy to get back on track just like that.
Okay.
How many days were you on set?
You said because you said you're down there for 2 weeks, but how many days were you on set?
Out of those 2 weeks, I would say probably about like 11. It was I think we only had like maybe 2 or 3 off days, and like it'll be long days too. I think I got there at the end of spring break spring break was like March, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So I got there like end of February, and then I got back right like during spring break. So it was like 2.5 weeks or something, 2.5 weeks or something like that. And it was every day I would get back home at my cousin's house at like 12 or 1 a.m. and then I had to get up at like 5 a.m. And I was like, dang, like this is the film life.
Yeah.
And then I know there are a couple days where like call time will be at 6 and they push it down to 7. That 1 extra hour of sleep was like very crucial because like we'd be tired because we'd be working all day. You know.
We love making movies.
We do love making movies for sure. So
So, kind of wrapping this up here. Before I want to kind of get some like, what do we have to look forward to for part 2? Like, don't give us any spoilers.
Yeah.
But like, what do we as an audience have to look forward to for part 2 that's different from part 1?
Oh, so much more in it. Just entertaining itself. Like part 1, there wasn't a lot of action really, you know, and like I think there were different storylines that kind of felt forced. Like even like the Eli Dimitri, the school thing. I mean, even the Miguel and Sanford thing, like I get it, you know, they're in high school and they're, you know, looking beyond. I mean, I don't like some of the subplots that they had in part 1, but part 2 is so much more action. The Miyagi thing, the hidden box. LaRusso's going to go to Barcelona and, you know, he's going to learn a little bit more about that. And,
I'm excited.
And
I hope it's a good payoff.
I hope so too. His character is going to go through like a whirlwind with it. And there's actually one part where Ralph Macchio, his character, that I'm really excited for y'all to see because like, you know, when you're on set, you know what's going to happen. And when I heard that this was going to happen, I was like, "You're lying, right?" I was like, it was crazy. Like, I wish I could say it, but like, it's going to be. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it for us. But like, it was. I can't wait to see how that's going to look on the final product.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah, but it's gonna be way better than part 1 for sure. I mean, you saw that trailer.
The trailer looks amazing.
The trailer is so good.
I'm sure there's gonna be way more action to it.
And you know what's crazy? I don't know it's not in part 3, but I remember I was down there.
There's
and I was
hold on, wait. There's a part 3?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's 3 parts.
Okay, I guess that's news to me. Okay, I take back what I said in the review then. If there's a part 3, then it gives plenty more time.
So I was down there because I thought that the Sakataka was like the last part of it, and then, well, I thought it was gonna be like the 10 and 15, the last 5. But I was like, I went down there. I was like, no, they're going to end up with something even crazier. So I don't know what that could be because part 2 is crazy. Like part 2 is so crazy. Like
that's awesome.
We'll see. So we'll see what part 3 is.
All right, so now let's wrap it up into a little bow here. What's next for Isaac? Now you've got this under your belt now. You're working on your own short film now as well. But what's next for you? I know you're still gonna be. You still got at least a semester or 2 left.
Yeah.
What's next for you though, as far as your professional career?
Well, so yeah, I graduate in 6 months, in May 2025. A lot can happen in 6 months. I'm not really sure, but like right now, my goal is to, after I graduate, I want to immediately move down to Atlanta, Georgia. There's a lot of opportunities down there. I met from people down there, a lot of connections that I have, and
that's where I'm hoping to find work too. For
yeah,
our crew.
Yeah, Atlanta has so many opportunities for sure. So we'll see. I think that I could have some, lined up when I graduate. But for me too, right now is like making sure that my projects right now get finished and I set myself up for doors to open in the future. So I feel like the project I do now right now, I feel like they're very important for me to complete and make good. So then come 6 months later, I can have this to show what I've done, and maybe that could, open up some doors, or hey, give me this opportunity,
Yeah. Well, here in a second, we'll have you kind of tell the audience where they can find all your information, because you want to give them like a little brief about your short film you're working on now.
Yeah.
Like give us a brief synopsis, and then where they can find it once you're finished.
Yeah. So you're actually the DP.
I am a cinematographer.
He's the cameraman, director of photography, and Leilani and Addison and a lot of other people. But yeah, I'm producing a short film called The Night Shift right now, and it's basically about a group of Russians who break into this American hotel to steal some paintings that's worth millions, Rembrandt paintings that's worth millions. And it's cool because this night in the film, it's only teenagers working. So like, think about it. If you're like a heistman and you're in this hotel and it's only teenagers, not any higher ups or any managers, you think it's a pretty easy mission, So the teenagers are going to be for a fight of their lives, kind of. They're going to try to defend the hotel, kind of stop the Russians, and we'll see who comes out on top, because there's like, and I've added stuff too. There's like, it's not even all Russians too. I've added like,
you've added a couple more.
I've added a couple more, so it's like a lot of bad guys, basically going up against kids, and it's basically going to come down to a cat and mouse game in like hotel hallways, and there's going to be a lot of action.
We've come up with some fun. We've already come up with some really fun stuff.
Yeah.
I'm excited for everybody. But where can they see it once it's completed?
YouTube. We're going to do it on YouTube. I was thinking maybe like a web page or something, but I think YouTube is going to be like the best suitable place right now. So yeah, you can find it on YouTube. And
what's the YouTube page?
Isaac Robertson. If you just look up Isaac Robertson, I have my own YouTube thing.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, just Isaac Robertson. And we have different, kind of like Cobra Kai, we have like different chapters. And I plan on having chapter 1 released next month on YouTube, and I'll make sure to market that. So it's gonna be good, and there'll be 4 parts. So I'm excited for that for sure.
We'll definitely put it here in the description box below as well.
Yeah.
I'll put it in there afterwards here. We didn't put it in here for now, but I'll put that down there for people to follow you.
Yeah.
That way when it drops, people can actually be notified for it.
And I do a lot of marketing on my Instagram.
Okay.
At Isaac the Director.
There you go. Put that there too for you.
That's where I really do most of my marketing for like my little clips and stuff like that. So.
Any last minute questions you have at all, Jordan, for wrap up today?
Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
that
thank you
awesome.
so much, Isaac, for being here. I'm excited for part 2. I'm excited to see you in it.
It's gonna be way better than part 1.
I remember when you told me you got casted, I was so like excited for you.
Yeah, because we're actually filming that.
We were filming that, and you got and you told me about it. I was extremely excited for you because, of course, I love the show as well. But I was excited because I knew it would help your career moving forward to have those kind of connections. So
like I met a lot of great people down there. So.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Isaac, thank you so much for joining us here today. Thanks, and that'll do us for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. More importantly, what did you think of our review of Cobra Kai Part 1? And what do you have? If you have any questions for Isaac, jump in the comments. Give them down below. I'm sure he'll go there and he'll try and answer them. Any you have for him that we may have missed. But for now on, if you like what we provide here at Red Digital, hit that like button, punch the subscribe channel so you receive all of our great content we have for you here on Real Time. We have, of course, Real Time, Pester Professor on Red Digital. We have Cinema Sit-Downs. And, of course, we have D&D on Wednesdays. Big shout out to Nolan. I'm loving the story that's going on there. He's got a good story going on there. But, all right, guys, that'll do us for today. Again, I'm Josh Williams.
I'm Jordan Burke.
I'm Isaac Robertson.
And thank you for keeping it real
with Real Time.